Good morning. Welcome to the Carla Marie and Anthony Show. My name is Anthony.
I'm Carla Marie.
And we do have a guest on later today.
Yeah.
So we will get into all of that later. But there was a good reminder in the chat because we haven't really talked about this a lot. We have this week and next week as our final 2 weeks before our 2-week vacation.
Crazy.
So we are going to be radio silence, if you will.
Yeah.
For 2 full weeks. I was actually just telling someone the other day, I can't wait to travel without my laptop.
I know. I'm going to bring my iPad so I can watch movies like a real kid.
It's going to be
That's
fun.
about it.
I'm just going to have a backpack with like a Nintendo Switch, maybe a book. And that's all the equipment I'm going to have the whole trip.
No, I might bring some mics.
Why?
Not mics, like little mics so I can make some cool content videos.
Like what?
Like we're going to do the outfit one where every day you cross your legs and high five. And then it's a new outfit every day. You have to do it with a partner.
Oh, yeah. You should find one.
You're my partner.
I was thinking maybe bringing like the phone stand.
Yeah, that's what's got
tripod type thing. Because
Yeah,
we have 8 people. We'll want to take some pictures. I think that'll help. But that's really about it. Mm-hmm. Other than that, just clothes, some shoes, and creatine tablets, pills. That's about it. Just snot everywhere. Yeah. And I did realize something, though, when I went to GNC, because I didn't want to bring a tub of creatine powder.
Right.
So I was like, oh, they have it in pill form. I'll just buy that instead. But apparently the same serving is
powder.
5 pills is 1 scoop of the powder, which I thought was kind of crazy. But I now have 2 bottles of creatine that I'm taking with me.
Well, I guess when you think when you do a powder, it's a giant scoop. So
no, it's like a little baby scoop.
But think about putting all that powder into a capsule. It's still gonna.
Yeah, that makes sense. So 5 capsules a day.
Yeah.
But the good thing is I actually don't mind taking things like that on a trip because I love coming back with less than I traveled with. So like I'll have a couple of Seattle gummy products with me. Yeah. Those won't come back with me because I'll have them every day. I won't have the jars of creatine.
Because it's food. It's things.
Yeah, but I love it. I love being able to go through things. Or what you do is
you buy candy socks and underwear.
You take like a tube of toothpaste that you're almost done with, or some hair product that you're almost done with, and then you could come back later than you left. It's great. Travel hack. Something.
Okay. Well, don't
subscribe. Okay. Smash the button.
I haven't done an update on Erica and her string, so here's an update. The cat has been completely fine. Yeah, running around like an absolute maniac. I mean, there's literally nothing different about her, which is absurd because, again, she swallowed a string and I watched it go down her throat. I have not seen it come out. Yeah. I was going to take her with us here today, but I figured we're only gone for like an hour and a half. I've been watching on the litter robot camera to see if she's okay, but she hasn't pooped since yesterday afternoon, which is not abnormal, but because her and John have their regular yearly checkup tomorrow afternoon, like this timing is just odd, I have to get a stool sample. Likely for each of them is best, but what they do is if one of your cats has like worms or something, they're all going to have it. So they just want me to really at least get it for one. So within 24 hours of their appointment, which is tomorrow at 3 p.m., I have to collect a stool sample for them. And if it's...
You just put it in like a Tupperware?
In the refrigerator in a Ziploc bag.
In a fridge?
Yeah, I did it last time too.
Why does it be in the fridge?
Because if it's more than 4 hours before the appointment, it has to go in the refrigerator.
That seems really silly. And I feel like it's poop. You should be able to leave it anywhere.
Well, last year I put it in a brown paper bag. In a Ziploc bag, so you couldn't see it.
Was not aware of that.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to put a different screen on there. Here we go. Now we're good. So we do have a guest on today. Mm-hmm. Really quickly, Carla Marie, explain who the guest is. We'll obviously do it again in about 10 minutes when she's on with us.
Okay, so her name is Gabi Conti. She is launching a podcast today, Mean Girls Day, so we'll talk to her about that. It's called Bad Influencer. She used to work at Cosmo, or actually she still might. We'll find out. But she did 30 dates in 3 days, which was an insane video.
You know what's funny? When I first read the info, I read in my head 30 dates in 30 days because that makes way more sense to my peanut brain.
Yes.
And then when I realized it was 30 dates in 3 days, I was like, wait a second.
Yes. And she also is the author of 20 Guys You Date in Your 20s. Mm-hmm. So we have her on today, obviously, because she's launching the podcast, but we have questions. And she's married now. Yeah. So at 30 dates.
So for someone who has experimented with dating, written about dating, made content about dating, if you have dating questions, if you are still in the scene and you've got dating questions in the scene, you like that one? Definitely make sure you're here so you can drop some questions because we will have Gabi answer some of those. But I do want to talk about something quickly that happened yesterday when I went to the Census Fail concert here in Seattle.
Okay.
So I met up with two of our friends, my friend Brett, who is sometimes in here.
Cheesed up.
And my friend Craig, who just moved from New Jersey, but I've known Craig for like 15 years.
That's crazy. I've never met him.
We went to a bar called Shorty's. That's where all of us went. And the show itself was at the Crocodile. And across the Crocodile here in Seattle, there's a bar called Ace Hotel or Ace Bar, something like that. Mm-hmm. So we went there for our last drink before we went into the actual venue. And as we were there, we grabbed a table. I went to the bar to get a round of drinks for everybody. And there was a woman sitting there, right? So I am standing kind of behind her to the left, and she turns around. She's like, oh, my God, I'm leaving. You guys can take this seat. Don't worry about it. I was like, oh, no, we have our table, whatever. And then she moved her bag so that I could, lean over the seat better. And the bartender wasn't seeing me for a little bit, so we started chatting. You're going to the show? Yes, blah, blah, blah. And she's by herself this whole time. So she was like, yeah, this is my favorite bar to go to before I go to shows at the Crocodile because the drinks are so expensive in there, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Small talk. And I don't know why I did this, but she said something. She's like, yeah, I guess I'll go in. I'm not really waiting for anyone. And I was like, well, you're more than welcome to hang out with us if you want. It was just like in a moment of
She definitely thought you were hitting on her.
Well, I was concerned that was going to happen. So I went back to the table from the bar.
Did you warn the guys that I invited this person? Okay, because that's what you should do.
And she did come and sit with us later on. So
and both the guys you're with are either
everyone's in a relationship,
married or engaged.
Yeah, everyone's in a pretty committed long-term relationship. So she's now sitting with us, and she's very kind. She wasn't as weird as I thought she could be for someone who was sitting at the bar by themselves and then going to the show by themselves.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean you're weird.
It could mean.
Claire went to the Ed Sheeran show by herself.
Yes. I've gone to shows by myself. I've gone to bars by myself. I'm also someone that someone might think is weird. But then she ended up, she went to the concert before us, but then we obviously it's a small venue, so we met up again while we were in there, so she's sitting with us again.
Was it, for my own head,
yeah.
Was it where Disney night was or emo night?
Disney night.
Okay.
So the top floor of the Crocodile.
That's pretty big.
Yeah, it was a good spot. It's, I don't know, 600 people?
Yeah.
Something like that. Show was great, and at one point, this woman, her name is Amy, by the way, she comes up to me. We're all at the very back, right? And by the way, I should mention that I tried to help out everybody at the table because I would ask each of the friends that was with me, oh, what does your girlfriend do now? And then I would say...
Did you say what my girlfriend does?
I did mention, because we were talking about Succession. I was like, oh yeah, my girlfriend and I just finished 3 more episodes of Succession. So I dropped them in there casually, right? Just plant the seeds for everybody so that no one got the wrong idea. But she came up to me as we were watching the show. So none of us really wanted to see any band other than Census Fail. And out of nowhere, this girl, Amy, comes up and she's like, oh, we should go to the pit. And I was like, Amy, I cannot go to the pit. Yeah. I just got out of a boot a month ago. I just had a torn Achilles. I am not going. And she then goes to my friend Craig, says the same thing. We should go to the pit. He's like, oh, I'm not going to the pit. And then she gave us both the finger and left.
And that was it.
She was kind of still in the area. So then we went to go get some merch to see what the merch booth was like, just so we could get out of that situation because it was on the other side of the venue. And then we never saw her again. She does have my Instagram, though. Did
you guys die when she gave you the finger?
Yes, absolutely. It was a very interesting situation. But I did, I guess, make a friend at the concert.
Her?
I don't know.
You made and lost a friend at the Census.
Yeah, it was a very quick relationship. But it was cool. It was cool, I will say, to meet a completely new person and just be like, all right, well, never gonna see you again. I love that. I really do.
Why does this happen to you? The excessive, female interactions that you have.
Yeah.
When you're just on Offer Up and women start yelling at you or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. No, it wasn't Offer Up where I got yelled at. That was on Bumble, I think.
No, it was just that you saw the bio on OfferUp. That was like.
Hold on one second. Let me.
We're about to have Gabi join, and I can hear us in the background. It's not her fault. It's something we're doing. So stand by, Gabi. No, it was OfferUp. It was a women's store.
Oh, the store. Yeah,
you didn't actually interact.
That was weird because I asked them if they do bundles or discounts, and they were like, "No, this is a women-owned store. We don't do discounts."
Right. So you did get yelled at.
Which is a very weird response.
Okay.
They could have just said no.
So.
I also have asked men to do discounts, by the way. Just so everyone knows, I'm an equal discount asker on OfferUp.
Okay, before we get Gabi on, do we need to fix anything audio-wise?
Yeah, I'm fixing a couple things. Gabi, if you could make sure that our volume is a little down before we come to you so we don't hear ourselves back in your microphone, or if you have headphones on, that would be phenomenal.
Oh, I think
I think we lost her. Yeah, we're going to have Gabi on in about 3 minutes. But yeah, it was an interesting scenario yesterday.
I love it. But who said it in the chat? Sounds like she was from the East Coast, that woman?
No, she was born and raised in Seattle, as far as...
That is a very Seattle thing. Like, an East Coast person would be like, all right, fine, F off, I'm going by myself. Yeah. Where, like, a Seattle person, that was the passive-aggressiveness of it.
Passive-aggressive was not giving me the finger.
Yes, it was. It's the aggressive part. The passive part was she didn't say F off.
Oh, okay. maybe that makes sense. Okay. So we went through, by the way, making friends at concerts. That was the first thing on the docket today. Seahawks in New York City. You need to talk to your people, Carla Marie.
Oh.
You need to talk to your people.
Okay.
All of the Seattle Seahawks. And their employees.
Well, from what I understand, when you are mentioning the teams, and if you are an actual NFL team.
Oh, crap. Carla Marie, do me a favor and plug that in real quick. What? My cable. Because it's right there. It's right there. Plug that in.
What just happened? Oh, no.
We're good.
I don't hear anything.
You're good. Don't worry. Okay, now we're plugged in. We're good to go.
I lost sound. Are we still there?
Yeah.
Okay.
If we didn't plug that in, we would not have still been there.
So before, we're going to have Gabi on in a moment. Get your questions ready for her. But I don't believe that NFL teams are allowed to refer to where the New York Giants and the New York Jets play as New Jersey for branding purposes. Now, from the broadcast, they do sometimes, they will say New York, they will say the Big Apple, but they also, like Scott Van Pelt last night was like, actually, we're in East Rutherford, New Jersey.
Yes.
I think for broadcast reasons, sometimes you legally have to say where you are.
Like the physical location?
Yes. But I think that there is an unwritten or possibly written NFL rule where they cannot say from New Jersey.
No, I just think they're embarrassed. I think the NFL is embarrassed that they have two teams in New Jersey. And
yeah.
One borderline team in New York. They may as well be in Toronto, though. The Bills.
Yeah. So when teams are referring to other teams and stuff, they've been saying New York. And I know for a fact that members of our social media team are born and raised New Jersey, so it does hurt them to have to do that. So it's funny watching like NJ Gov yesterday. That's the really funny fake New Jersey governor Instagram account. Reposted a Seahawks post that said something about, like we're in New York. And they reposted and was like, looks a lot like New Jersey to me. And I was like, man, we just got burned by the NJ Gov account, but that's cool. But I do think that a lot of players think that they're in New York City. And not because they're dumb, but because...
There were a lot of players that were posting, like, in the Big Apple, right, and from their hotel.
And it's not a knock to them. They don't book their flight.
Yeah.
They don't book their hotels. They're referred to as the New York Giants, New York Jets. When we go to New York, this is going to happen. And I said, could you imagine getting to Jersey City, New Jersey, because that's where they stayed, and being like, oh, I've heard about this awesome pizza place in New York. Let's look it up. And they look it up and they realize it's in another state.
And it's going to take forever to get there?
Like... Do you think Travis Kelce, when they were playing the Jets, do you think it clicked to him that he was going to be in New Jersey and Taylor was going to be living in New York City and he was going to have to cross the whole river?
Yeah, probably not.
But anyway, the Seahawks crushed it last night.
They did. They actually whooped the Giants. And
I was so happy for Devin Witherspoon. He's such a fun guy to talk to. He's so much energy. He crushed it. So
he had a hell of a game.
Yeah.
You have 6 tackles and...
He was
an interception and a touchdown and a sack, I believe.
Yeah, he was amazing.
So I wanted to get through those two things because we've got a lot of dating things that we are going to talk about. Some podcast stuff we're going to talk about as well. So let me make sure that we have
website.
Let me make sure that we have audio. Can you hear us, Gabby?
I can.
We can hear you, and now the audience should be able to hear you as well. So let us introduce today's guest. We've got Gabby. Hello.
Hi, Gabby.
Hi. Thanks so much for having me.
Nice to meet you, and congratulations on the podcast launch today.
Yeah, it's a very exciting day. Mean Girls Day and a podcast launch. I mean, what more could you ask for?
You know what's funny? When we got the email to talk to you, because we are being represented by some people in the same company, the question was posed, are you familiar with Mean Girls Day? And if you celebrate, and I was like, trust me, I am very familiar with Mean Girls. And I celebrate because it is definitely one of my top, I'd say definitely my top 5 favorite movies of all time.
It's awesome.
Oh, same, definitely.
So. Okay, so tell us about the podcast. Is it the whole series out today or just the first episode?
Yeah, the whole series is out today because it's meant to be like bingeable, like, a new show or new series on Netflix. So you can listen to the whole thing today. And it's called Bad Influencer. It's a 9-part rom-com for your ears. So it's very much like audio immersive. So all of the sets and everything you hear through sound. And it has an incredible cast of characters. It's very much like 13 Going on 30 meets Big, about a girl who dreams of being a famous influencer and wakes up the next day to find her dreams have come true and then is caught in nonstop scandals. And we also have some celebrity cameos. Dumois, Perez Hilton, Kristen Doty, and Christy Carlson Romano all play themselves, but everything else is fiction, although there are some things you'll be like, oh, wait, didn't an influencer actually do that or something similar? So
it sounds like a Law and Order episode where it's like, yeah, these are fake events, but they're definitely based on real things that have happened.
Exactly. I should have gotten that intro for it and like have someone from Law and Order read it at the beginning of each episode.
So how do you present an idea like that to someone like Perez Hilton and say, hey, I have this idea and I want you to play yourself in a scripted podcast?
So when I reached out to the influencers, and I knew them all, like, to various degrees when I was reaching out. The first question I asked, have you ever imagined playing yourself? And all of them were like, yeah, I would love to, awesome. Like, wow, what an honor. And it really is. I'm the one who's honored that they were willing to lend their voices to this project because Emerald Audio is a small female-driven, female-led storytelling network. Like, we really are just starting up. So it really helps to have them behind this project.
And then when I originally saw that you had Dumois on there, I was like, is it going to be the real? So the one that the fact that you just said it's actually them, I'm so excited. I don't know.
I have no idea who that is. I'm going to be totally honest with you. So if either of you could explain that, that'd be great.
Actually, Gabby will do a better job.
Yeah, Dumois is a celebrity gossip Instagram account. So it's very similar. It's a lot of blind items, which is where you don't name the celebrity. It's a lot of spotted. Like when people see a celebrity, they'll write into Dumois. When people have firsthand gossip, they'll write into Dumois. A lot of times Dumois is breaking the story, like entertainment news stories, before they're published. Yeah. Okay. And sometimes they never get confirmed, but maybe that's because they're true, but their teams don't want to confirm the news. So
that makes sense.
Yeah, it's so fun to go through the 1,000 Instagram stories they post a day of just like screenshots of people messaging things. And I'm like, who could this be about? Who could this be about? So I'm very excited to listen and hear their interaction and how, she is on
yeah, so Dumois is like in this world. So in this world, the influencers are like always on the front page of Dumois. Like they're not front page, but they're always featured on Dumois. Like Dumois' audience in this world like knows who these influencers are. But obviously they are fiction.
So when did you think of this idea to say, I'm going to make this scripted podcast, which there are other scripted podcasts out there, but to make it this social media reality world?
Sure. Well, actually, the idea and the concept was based on a story by Jane Green, who is an 18 New York Times bestselling author and is amazing. And so she had this concept, and we ended up meeting coincidentally at my best friend's wedding. Oh, cool. Jane is also from my hometown of Westport, Connecticut. I'm an East Coaster. I know you guys are as well. And so Jane had just launched Emerald Audio, and she had actually heard another podcast I had called Am I Dating a Serial Killer, and was a big fan of it and knew that I was also an author. And the network is all about kind of giving authors a space to kind of bring stories to life. And so she told me about this idea she had called Bad Influencer, but she didn't really like have as firm of a grasp of like millennial influencer culture, which I have actually cover for Hollywire. And so I was like, oh, I know all about this. Like so much of my brain is like the D'Amelios and Addison Rae and also like Selena Gomez and like all the Gen Z celebrities as well. So it was kind of like a perfect opportunity. But in terms of, I wrote the whole thing, I co-created with Jane and I wrote the whole 9 episodes. And when I was writing it, I was kind of inspired by things that were actually happening, but I made them fiction. I do not want a lawsuit.
Right. No,
that's not something you want to kick off a podcast.
There are a lot of Jane Green fans in the chat right now, so that's really exciting.
Oh, she is the best. And her books are incredible. I loved her last book, Sister Stardust. And she ended up making, if you don't know this, she ended up making a sequel of it. That was the debut Emerald Audio show called Rainbow Girl.
That's cool.
So if you were a fan of that, you definitely should check out that at Rainbow Girl as well for this whole immersive audio experience.
So this is a great question we just got from Meg in the chat. She said, so do you write like a novel and then read it? I'm so curious how fiction podcasts go.
Of course. So it's interesting. So my background is I have a book and but it's nonfiction, but there's stories in it. So there's storytelling element to it. I went to school for writing in television and film, and I've also written screenplays before. And so writing for audio is a little different than, it's similar to screenwriting. But instead of writing action lines like you would in screenwriting, you have to use sound effects and you have to use what they tell you not to do in screenwriting, which is you do have to tell more than show, or show through sounds and show through dialogue. So it's a little bit of a transition. So with the other 2 podcasts, like I believe Rainbow Girl was based on a novella, so that was already written. And then also Key of Love, which is the other Emerald Audio, I believe that was already written. And there's a lot of podcasts out there that were novels first. But for the case of Bad Influencer, it was a story that Jane had, and we really had kind of like the beginning and some characters, but we didn't know where it was going and how we were going to build out this world. And that's really where I came in to build that all out.
That's wild.
And again, the podcast is available right now.
Yeah.
Bad Influencer.
Right now, you can binge the entire 9 episodes.
But I want to talk to you about some other projects that you've done as well, because I feel like you've somehow figured out how to live like 18 lives in one. And mainly,
impressive.
Yeah, I have no days off. It's very exhausting, but I love what I do.
And mainly doing that through dating. And was it 4 years ago or 3 years ago you did 30 dates in 30 days?
3 days.
Oh, no, 3 days.
Sorry, 3. I keep messing that up.
Yeah.
And I said this actually before we had you
told me
on.
I was wrong, and I was like, it's 3 days.
No. And I talked about this before we had you on, because in my peanut brain, I can't even conceptualize doing 30 dates in 30 days, much less 3.
Yeah, so it was 30 days in 3 days, and it was May 2019.
Okay.
And it was a piece and also a video I did for Cosmopolitan, but it also was coming from a place of like real honesty. Like I had just gotten out of a relationship and I was trying to get back into the dating scene, and I was having a hard time getting myself to go on dates. And so having like this goal really got me out there, and I made some really great connections. And I do believe that it led me to my husband, I met on a dating app, who I might have never met on a dating app if I wasn't using dating apps and using them the right way. And he was technically my 31st first date. And the way I was using the dating apps is I was limiting the conversation I had on the app. I was trying to meet in person. Smart. And when I met in person, I was only really committing mentally to an hour, which really is all first date should be, is 1 round of drinks, 1 hour. And there actually is a dating app now that ended up being a sponsor for Bad Influencer. And the dating app is literally designed the way I use dating apps to meet my husband. It's called First Rounds on Me. And you match with people by giving them a time and a place to go on a date. And if they accept, the date is set. You can't chat with each other until 12 hours before your date is scheduled. So you have that in-person connection. And also you're only committing to 1 round of drinks, because you're just asking to grab a drink. So after an hour, if you're not having fun, you can leave, and the app even calls you an hour into the date so you can get out of there.
But doesn't the other person know that the app does that?
Yeah, but I mean,
just making sure.
They also could be getting that phone call.
Yeah. So let me ask you this question. Why do you believe that a first date should only be 1 hour?
I think start it off with an hour. With my husband, I went in there being like, I'm leaving after an hour. But if the connection feels really great and if you're enjoying yourself and you're having a good time, I think you should be in the moment and continue the date. But I feel like a lot of people don't go on dates or they're scared to go on dates because they think it's like their whole night. They're risking their whole night. They're spending all this time with a stranger that they don't even know. So I feel like when you say, it's just going to be around, it's just going to be an hour, it kind of takes a lot of the pressure of dating off. I really think the pressure should be more on the second date, less on the first. The first is like casual. And that's why I really don't have a problem with coffee dates either or happy hour dates. Like it should be a date that you could pick up the tab. It shouldn't be at a fancy restaurant.
No, I love that idea though, because the idea of going on a date can be so daunting because of like, it could be 3 hours of your day for someone you're never going to see again. Yeah. And it is tough. But if you kind of go into it like, I'm scheduling this for an hour, I got to go.
You know what's
It makes it so much better.
Right.
I feel like a lot of people will give you crap for scheduling a date that's just drinks, right? Like, oh, it's so lame. Anyone can do that. You've got to do something. No, I know people who try to think of very unique things you can do or whatever. And my theory, especially for meeting a stranger essentially for the first time, is it shouldn't have to be something over the top. It should be something pretty normal that you're used to. And the last thing you want to do is really go on a long dinner, right? Because you want your food, but you might not want to be with that person anymore. And that's like the worst situation you can be in. So I think even though it could be considered lame sometimes, going out for a single drink or 2 drinks, it lowers the bar to make everyone comfortable.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what dating should be. And also, I think we also have to keep in mind that with online dating, you're meeting strangers and you want to stay safe. And so I think limiting it to one drink. And also, I also say to try to do it earlier in the day if you can, because not only is that a little safer, but also it makes you not use your whole night on someone. And when I say night, I don't mean like you have to go out and go crazy, but like, we work really hard. Like sometimes we just want to come home. We want to watch our show. We want to have a healthy dinner. We want to get a good night's sleep. Like we shouldn't be devoting an entire night and our sleep and everything like that to someone that is literally a stranger.
So I want to ask you 3 questions of things you've learned. 3 questions for 3 days of dating 10 people a day, right?
Yeah.
Best time to go on a date?
Happy hour.
Okay. So we're talking between 4:30 and 6:30 essentially.
Essentially, happy hour, because I feel like there's a lot less pressure there. I love a happy hour. I like that the sun is still up. I love that you get a good deal on food and drinks. And it's usually not too crowded, because that's the other thing that sucks is when you're going to a date and it's like a crowded bar and you can't hear each other. So I really feel like happy hour vibes is like my favorite time to go for a date.
Best type of food for a first date?
I'm going to say, well, I think it should just be drinks. I don't think you should be getting food. No food. But if you're hungry, you definitely should eat, because you shouldn't be drinking on an empty stomach.
Also true.
And if you're gonna get food, I think like French fries are good. I think like something that you guys can like get for the table and like share that isn't a full meal is like a fun thing to get on a date.
All right, last one, and this is probably the most important because I know a lot of people like panic when you hear small talk or introductory conversations. Best small talk icebreaker type setup?
My favorite thing is first of all, if it was ever at a place with this is like a question I was asking, and I find it's very telling. If there was a place with a jukebox, or you could also ask this hypothetical, if there was a jukebox right here, what song would you put on the jukebox? Ooh. Because I think you get to see a lot about the person. If they pick a song that's like a good vibe and like everyone would enjoy, then I feel like that's kind of like a nicer person, versus if someone picks something that's like only something they would love, then I feel like they might be a little kind of like greedy and not as giving.
Okay, so let's try it out. Can we? Let's try it out. We'll go in a triangle here. Oh, Gabi, I'll ask you first because this is your question.
Yeah,
if there was a jukebox here, what song would you put on?
I would put on, actually, this like makes me look like the bad person. I would put on John Mayer's Bold as Love, the live version, where he banters about how he's looking for I Got Your Back love, because I feel like it would kind of set the tone and kind of subconsciously tell my date what I'm looking for.
Okay. Now you can ask either one of us.
Yeah. So Anthony, what would you pick?
I would pick this. The title is going to throw you off for a second, but it's a great song.
Okay.
It's by Mos Def. It's called Miss New Booty. Or Miss Fat Booty, sorry. But it's a great song. If you listen to it, it's a great storytelling song about a guy meeting a girl and the kind of hiccups they go through along the way. And it's a great mellow song too. It's not too high, it's not too low. It's a great song. Carlin Ray.
Yeah, you two are like very, storytelling. I am going September, Earth, Wind, and Fire, and the whole place is dancing.
Yes, I love that. See, that's a green flag right there.
Thank you. Wave it proudly. We know you're a red flag, Anthony.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
Yes. But hold on. I saw this message from Megan in our chat, and it caught me so off guard. She said, "This is why I failed at dating back when I was dating. I liked doing different things. I went to a cemetery on a first date once."
Well, I'm actually okay with the difference. Happy hour is we're thinking like something that takes an hour. So one of my dates, we went to Dave & Buster's for an hour, and that was a fantastic time. So it doesn't necessarily have to be drinks. And also I want to be conscious about, if you don't drink alcohol, you shouldn't be drinking alcohol, obviously, So there are definitely a lot of like sober and fun activities you could be doing on a first date too.
What is, for people who might still be looking for some good ideas, what is a good first date non-drinking activity?
Well, I always love a walk. I know that sounds kind of silly, but like I love a good walk, especially if it's through like not a neighborhood, but like through a street where there's a lot of like shops. And so there's a lot of options of like where you can go. And also I would always pick a place that has easy parking. So I would say you want to do a walk over a hike. Like hikes are too much, but a walk I think is really nice. I always love like a coffee date, or maybe even like going to a bookstore and like picking out books and picking out books for each other. Or you could also do the same thing at a record store. I think,
cool.
Let's see, what are other things that take an hour?
And ice cream, like walk and get ice cream and go for a walk. So it's not just, speed
get a
walking.
juice, get a coffee. You could even go grocery shopping together. Like that's could go
very
grocery
telling.
shopping together, but not for each other. Like you could run an errand together. Like I feel like, because you want to find someone that you're comfortable doing. Liz Moody has this amazing quote about this, where you want to find someone who you're cool and have a good time doing like the low key stuff with, but also you can deal with the hard stuff. And on a first date, you're really looking to make sure, is this person a good hang? So if you have like errands to run, you're like, I have no time to date. Like maybe like have your date run their errands with you.
I don't hate that idea.
I know.
You mentioned a walk is better than a hike. And I'm always shocked to hear that women agree to go on hikes as a first date.
That's how we get murdered.
I can't think of a better murder scenario. Like, you just go into the woods with a stranger?
Yeah, I would not recommend it. I think a hike is like definitely like you've been dating for a month and you trust this person,
And you keep your location on and you tell someone where you're going at all times. All of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And also hikes are long. Sometimes hikes are more than an hour. And then if you run out of things to talk about, it's really awkward.
You can get there's like walks around a lake. That's like better than just walking around. Not better than walking around a neighborhood, but at least it gives you like, we're going to walk around this lake and it's over and we get to the end.
Well, my like hometown, we have a beautiful beach. Like you can walk. I know that sounds so like I like enjoy walks along the beach, but like that's like always a fun thing to do is like if you have a beach or like a park or something like that that's like well lit and like easy to walk on, like that's always a great option too.
Now, we talked about this earlier, because a first date, generally speaking, unless someone sets you up or it's like an office thing, you're generally meeting with a stranger, right? Like a stranger from the internet. And this is something that I try to bring up to so many people, where that person doesn't necessarily owe you anything after that date. They were a stranger before. They can go back to being a stranger. Do you think that it is actually possible to get ghosted after a first date, or does that person not really owe you a response after the first date?
I think it is a form of ghosting. Yeah. I think it's not as harsh as if you actually had really gotten to know someone and you spent a lot of time with them and they promised you all these things and all of a sudden they're not responding to you. Like it's a different level of ghosting, but it's still ghosting. But also I think that we need to kind of redefine how we look at ghosting. I think a lot of people look at ghosting and they're like, oh, screw that person. And they get really mad and they want closure. And I think instead you should look at ghosting as like, if this person isn't reaching out to you this early into dating, like they just did you a favor, like move on. I mean, I got ghosted, I think like, at least like a sixth of the dates from the 30 dates in 3 days ghosted me. So, and I would call that ghosting. I mean, or they read the article.
Did they know that you were doing this 30 dates in 3 days experiment?
Because you filmed some of the dates.
I did. So the ones that I filmed obviously knew what I was doing.
Well, yeah, I hope so.
So I had gotten the assignment on a Friday, and my first date had to be the following Friday. And so at first I was going ham on all the dating apps, and I was trying to schedule as many dates as I possibly could. And by Wednesday, I only had 15 dates scheduled. And my editor was like, I really feel like if you really are looking for a connection, you're gonna get a better, honest read if they don't know about what you're doing. Because when you tell people what they're doing, they're gonna be on their best behavior, and you're not gonna get an honest read on them. But after Wednesday, only having 15 dates, I was like, hey, is there any way I could open it up to social media and get set up? And she's like, yeah, that's fine. So half of the dates knew, half of the dates didn't. And then of the dates that knew, if they reached out to me after the first date and wanted to meet again or just reached out, I told them after that, I was honest with them about that. But if they didn't reach out to me, then I didn't tell them, and they probably found out.
Was anyone upset after they found out that they were part of this experiment?
2 were very upset. Yeah. The first one was actually randomly from my hometown, which was so weird and random. And we went for a hike, and it was awful. It was the worst. It was the worst experience of my life. And he sent me this paragraph text message after the article came out about what a horrible person I am and how he wishes nothing but the worst for me. And just
that's so
really
excessive,
awful, awful things.
Did you know? Because you mentioned he was from your hometown. Did you know similar people? There was no.
Yeah, similar people, but he was a little younger than me, so not we knew some similar. We went to the same high school, but I graduated 4 years before him, so it wasn't that crazy. And then another guy who asked me for a second date. And so I was like, hey, I want to be honest with you. Our connection was genuine. I really enjoyed spending time with you. But I wanted to let you know that I'm writing about this for Cosmopolitan. And I'm also happy to send you what I write about you before I publish it. Even being like that. So if you want me to take anything out, I'm happy to. I'm changing names and details and everything.
So nice.
Right? So nice. And instead he told me off. And then I met him on that celebrity dating app where you have to have an invitation.
Yeah.
And I got kicked off the dating app because of him. And I know it was him because he was the only guy I went on a date with from that dating app, because that dating app sucks.
That's
Raya. I make fun of it. I shit on it all the time. I think it's the worst dating app ever. By the way, we never told you this. We're dating, but before we were dating,
no,
I knew that. I read.
I was on Raya because I got an invite to it, and here in Seattle, the only guys that were available to date were Canadian hockey players 3 hours away. So I was like, what am I gonna do with this? But it was fun sometimes.
It's not a great dating app. It's great for social climbing and clout chasing, but other than that, no.
100%.
It's interesting that you brought up that some of the guys were upset, most of the guys were fine with it. Some people reached out, some didn't. One of the things that I keep saying, it's a trend that I talk about with a lot of my friends who are still on the apps and whatnot, is these are still strangers. Treat them like strangers.
Yes.
And don't get me wrong, it sucks if someone doesn't reach out to you after you've put yourself out there a little bit. Everyone has that kind of little defeat in their heart.
Yeah.
And that's not easy to overcome. But at the end of the day, that was a stranger. You never knew them before. You can just go on the rest of your life as you are anyway.
Yeah, they did you a favor. It's thank you, next, move on.
Yeah, I was going to say that. And the guy that got you kicked off Raya actually did you a favor too. You eventually found your husband. Who knows how much time you would have wasted on that hellhole.
And guess what? I didn't really like him as much as he liked me.
But I want to talk about that too, because after the 30 days, right?
Mm-hmm.
The 31st date is your husband, correct?
31st first date.
31st first date.
Okay.
So there were some dates in between, but technically my 31st first date was with my husband.
Okay.
Because I also had people that didn't show up for their dates.
Okay. What do you think you learned from the experience from the other 31st dates that you took into this 31st one that led to it maybe being more of a success? Even though I don't like thinking of dating as a success failure thing, because that's silly.
I learned to be 110% myself. I think a lot of times we go on dates, and I did this too, where I was trying to be the idea of this person, and also my dating app, the way I would have my dating app, the pictures I'd choose and the things I'd say was very much a version of me. That's how I usually present on first dates, but isn't 100% authentically me. It's 80% authentically me. And so after that, I totally changed my dating app profiles. I made it like 110% me, down to like the quotes I chose and whatever. I got a lot less matches, but the matches I got were higher quality. And also, when I went on my first date with my husband, after our first round of drinks, he wasn't asking me any questions about myself. And normally I would just be like, whatever, I would be fine with it. I wouldn't say anything. But because I literally like went through it and like really had nothing to lose at this point, I said to him, if you don't start asking me questions, I'm leaving after I finish this drink. And then I learned that like the reason why he wasn't asking questions wasn't because he's an a-hole. It was because he was on like 3 hours of sleep and he almost canceled the date, but he didn't want to cancel the date because he was really looking forward to meeting me. And so it kind of like really, you were asking about icebreakers in a weird way, like that kind of like broke the ice. Like I think a really great icebreaker is to like be really who you are and ask those questions, even if they're a little bit uncomfortable, because like you have to stop being so on first dates. Like, you don't want to be so stiff. You don't want to like, you be who you are, because the right person will be attracted to that and the wrong person won't. And then that's fine.
Yeah. I read the New York Times article about you and your husband getting married and that story. And I was like, damn girl, I love this. So I'm so glad. I was going to get you to tell that story and I'm glad you did. I think it's
important. And every day he's working on to asking me questions.
But I love that there is this idea, like you've broken down, I think, the ideas behind good dating, where it's, you don't need to make every date the biggest deal in the world. Mm-hmm. It's not a life and death situation. Go on the date, be yourself. If it works, phenomenal. If it doesn't, you move on.
Right. Exactly. Definitely.
And I know we have you for a couple more minutes, but you also did, because, and I love someone who names things easily, right? 30 days
let's see how you do.
3 days, but 20 guys you meet in your 20s.
Yes.
Close. 20 guys you date in your 20s.
I don't want to say date too many times.
There you go.
But that's the book.
That's the book. Yes.
First off, are these all guys that you met in your 20s?
Yes.
Okay. What made you write about them all?
Sorry. No. The first two chapters, my high school boyfriend and the first guy I dated in college, I met them when I was not in my 20s, but I reconnected with them in my 20s.
That's fair.
So
or I continued to
we'll allow it.
What made you write about them, though? What made you put them to pen and paper and make this book?
Well, it was less about me. It was more that as I was dating in my 20s, I really felt like there wasn't a guidebook. I felt like I was really learning a lot about how to date and how this all works. And I was blogging a lot for different websites and stuff. And I was writing about dating constantly. And when I was a serial monogamous and when I was 23 years old, I was dating this guy who I thought I was going to end up with. And he ended up, I'm not going to spoil it, but he ended up lying to me about something massive that ended up breaking up the relationship. Mm-hmm. And from that deception, I went from someone who was a serial monogamous into a serial dater. And the timing of that was like around 2011, 2012, and Tinder came out. So I was like an early adapter of dating apps. And I remember even swiping like crazy. And I even remember like writing an article that was like, what's this Hinge thing? Like, like that's how like so long funny. I've been like writing and like being on these apps. And so after that breakup, I kind of mended my broken heart by like writing this like kind of on theme with Mean Girls, a burn book in a way about the different guys I dated. And the more I started talking to like my friends and my therapist and like other people about it, they were like, oh, I've also dated that guy. Yep. And so the 20 guys you date in your 20s are less like, oh, Mike and Josh and whatever. It's less that. It's more like, these are the types of relationships that we find ourselves in anytime we're single. This is my experience as a straight woman in her 20s dating them, but I think that these are universal. I think these are dating tropes. And a lot of them are kind of like red flag, green flag, beige flags almost in a way. And the way the book is written is that every chapter I tell a story of my experience in this type of relationship. There's like charts and quizzes, kind of like a Cosmo or a YM magazine back in the day. And then the last section has Ask Someone Else. So the guy who I wrote about gets to read his story and tell his perspective to various degrees of participation. I interview licensed experts who also weigh in on how you can make this relationship work, as well as various couples who have overcome these obstacles and have made it work, because the obstacles are like cooler than you, older than you, younger than you, long distance, right? All those things, like all of those obstacles can end up lasting. I mean, my husband is like easily 5 of these, including the guy who's your instant boyfriend. Like, how do you make a relationship that happens so quickly last. And we actually, when we were dating, this was already written. So we went back into that chapter and like took the quizzes and like read the advice. And I really think that that is what led us to have such a
That's
healthy
awesome.
and stable relationship.
In the book, or from your research, I'll say, biggest red flag.
I mean, a guy who's toxic, like all the red flags of like narcissistic tendencies, gaslighting, love bombing. I think that those are big, and that actually is the only chapter of. Unfortunately, I was in an abusive relationship, and that's the only chapter that I did not reach out to the guy because, and also the advice is get out, how to get out of this relationship, not
very understandable.
Work, girl.
The question, the interesting thing about love bombing is how do you know that love bombing is taking place? Because everyone loves affection. Like when we go out there searching for someone to show us that affection, and once you start getting it, how do you decipher like, oh, this is a healthy form of someone showing me their affection versus this is love bombing?
Well, love bombing is they use it as a form of manipulation. Yeah. So like usually love bombing happens like really early into the relationship because they're manipulating you to like being with them or maybe escalating the relationship and being more serious really quickly, or you get into a really big fight and they love bomb you after a fight. But I think you have to look at the bigger scheme of the relationship and be like, is this a pattern? Are they always doing this? Because really what a healthy relationship is consistent. And I think that is kind of a mind twist for us because we grew up watching all these movies that actually normalize love bombing and like The Bachelor like makes it all look normal. But in reality, like that isn't healthy. And a healthy relationship, like, yes, there should be special occasion, like there should be signs of affection, but those happen during special occasions like birthdays or anniversaries or Valentine's Day, like not because it's a Tuesday and they messed up the night before.
Most relationships, like I don't want this is gonna sound messed up. Most of your relationship will be boring times.
Yes, and that exactly brings me back to what we were saying earlier about that you want to find someone that you're okay doing nothing with. And I think that's why the pandemic really made or braked a lot of relationships because we were doing nothing for months and years.
Yeah, we have so many friends that started dating people early 2020 and they were married by the end of last year.
But then I'm sure we also have friends that were dating early and then are now divorced because they realized it doesn't work.
Yeah,
you know?
It was a time.
Gabi, we know you have a very busy day. First off, congratulations on the podcast release. Happy Mean Girls Day. 2 questions I'm going to ask you so you can tell everyone where to go. Or 3, actually. First, if they want to find you on socials so they can follow your story, give them that.
Sure. My social handle is ITSGABICONTI. It's Gabi Conti. That's on Instagram, TikTok, and X, but I don't really use X anymore.
Yeah, I think everyone kind of has
Twitter.
And I tried Threads, but like that also isn't.
I know. I don't know what to do.
The podcast, if people want to check it out.
Podcast is Bad Influencer, and you could listen to it wherever you hear podcasts. There is a link in my bio on my Instagram account. Also, my website is my first and last name.com, and there's a link for that too. It's Bad Influencer. You can hear it on Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, and YouTube, and you can hear the whole series today.
Yeah, we dropped the link in our chat, so it's clickable for your website, and your Instagram is in there as well. Thank you to Claire who just put that in there for everyone. And we'll also, if you're watching this on YouTube, all of these links that Gabi just mentioned will be in the description.
And I think the book is actually going to be beneficial for a lot of people too. So the book
is also available on my website. It's called 20 Guys You Date in Your 20s. It's available wherever you buy or listen to books. And if you speak French, it is also now available in French.
Would you look at that?
And all those links are on my website as well.
Well, it's awesome. For real, thank you so much for making time for us. Thank you for sharing all of that information. We appreciate you very much.
This was so fun. Thank you so much for having me, and have a good rest of your Mean Girls Day.
You too. We'll talk soon.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
And that was a lot of fun.
That was awesome.
And let me make sure. Actually,
you know what I kept thinking the whole time? We got to send this to Erica and Jake.
Well, it's interesting. I don't want to bring up Jake by name. I was thinking of him mostly when I asked the question about exciting first dates. Because in our group chat, Jake is always the one who's trying to go, I think, above and beyond or do things that are way more unique. And
okay, but was the ghosting question you were thinking of Erica?
No, that's just in general. No one likes to get ghosted.
Our group chat loves to argue over what constitutes as ghosting.
Yeah. And what I loved is what Gabi mentioned, where there are different levels to ghosting, right? If you've been on 7 dates with someone and all of a sudden they disappear,
it's fucked up.
That's messed up, right? That is, I think, unquestionably messed up. If it's a first date, there's some gray area there. That was a stranger before. They didn't feel it. They don't really owe you anything because you're still a stranger.
And
yes, you spent 2 hours together.
It's almost worse after an hour to be like, nah, I don't like you. But after 7 dates to say, obviously saying these in nicer ways, but after like 7 dates to be like, hey, it's not working out. But after meeting someone once, I'd rather just not hear from you than you tell me you didn't like me after an hour.
And a lot of people, like Gabby mentioned, a lot of people love this idea of closure. I don't even know necessarily what that means when you're talking about a first date.
That I didn't even open it yet.
And I think a lot of people just want the opportunity to have the last word.
Yeah.
And it sucks when that opportunity is taken away from you. And I think that's why on a first date, if you get ghosted or if the person doesn't hit you back right away, that's why you feel so upset. Is they had the last word, essentially. They didn't give you, without saying a word, they had the last word.
Fred said a message in here that I needed to read because I saw and I did everything I could to not laugh.
What was it?
Fred the mailman said, bakery dates are all I'm here for. No scone, no bone. Made by Erica said, I'd rather never hear from you than say you don't like me.
Yeah. And that's the other thing.
Same.
It's interesting to me that, and I feel, at least anecdotally, right, in what I've heard from people on the apps, what I've experienced on the apps and stuff like that, women have no problem, for the most part, messaging a guy they met on an app, had a first date, and just said, hey, not feeling it, like, thanks for your time, blah, blah, blah. I think guys end up ghosting more because I don't know
they're
any
terrible
guy,
communicators.
unless you're a terrible date, I don't know any guy who wants to tell a woman that he found attractive, hey, I'm just not like feeling your vibe.
Because guys can't communicate their feeling. I'm not being a dick.
No, I think part of it's probably a communication thing, right? We're conditioned to communicate differently,
or just not,
or just differently. But I think it's also you're conditioned as a guy, like you don't want to be put in a situation where you're putting a woman down.
No,
right?
I get
You don't
that.
want to be put in a situation where you're making a woman feel shitty about herself. You don't want to put in a situation where you're going to become a screenshot and become the villain. So sometimes it's also best to just say, I'm out.
We should come up with a, maybe there's like an emoji or a sentence that every guy just uses when they're done, but it's their way of saying that they're done.
Great game. See you out there. I don't know.
Best of luck.
Best of luck.
Best wishes, warmest regards.
So in Arabic, you could actually use, there's a phrase I was
Easy-patisi.
no, not EDBTZ. That's my hands in my ass.
I know.
I was actually teaching Carla Marie this
Oh,
the
you
other
did?
day.
Mabruk.
No, Mabruk is congratulations.
Oh.
So like yesterday when my dad officially beat me in fantasy football, I texted him and said Mabruk.
Okay.
But no, inshallah is the word.
Oh, right. God bless you.
Inshallah is basically God willing. Okay? So God willing is, but it's you're not always using it in a religious context, right? You could use it in like, oh man, I'm going on this interview. I hope I really get it. And you can say inshallah, like hope it happens.
Okay.
That best
Or
of luck.
sarcastically, you can use it.
But parents will also oftentimes use it if the kid is asking to, I don't know, go to Disneyland or something. Inshallah, we'll go. It's almost like, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Good luck.
God willing.
Warmest, best wishes.
Yeah, basically.
It's best wishes.
So I wonder if we could start using that in the dating world. Like, will I see you again? Inshallah.
Okay, but
We'll see.
what I was going to say when I was like, I'd rather be ghosted is in my mind, I'd rather think that you randomly bumped into someone who's now become the love of your life and you've just forgotten about me, you know?
Okay.
Or you died.
I have had that fear before. Like if I've talked to someone on an app and then I just never heard from them again, I'm like, did they die? Was I that uninteresting or are they dead?
They probably died.
They may have. I also could have been that uninteresting. I have no idea. Cheese Dot said, a lot of times we're so focused on being polite and not hurting feelings that ghosting seems nicer. And that's kind of the point I was trying to make before. It's like, would you rather me as a stranger? Keep in mind, not someone you've dated multiple times. I don't know any of your friends. Maybe went out for 2 drinks and dinner, right? Would you rather me come back the next day or 2 days later and be like, hey, I just don't think you're for me? Or would you rather just never hear from me again? I don't know. That's obviously a person by person
I never have to
thing.
worry about this nonsense.
People are going to take that information differently, so it's a personal decision. There is no right answer. Just like there's no right date, there's no right person, none of this is right. It's all made up. We're all just figuring it out and doing the best we can to not bash our heads into a wall.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll say it a million times, and this is going to sound like it's something that I'm saying nice. to Anthony, but I mean it when I say that if this ends, I'm not. I'm done. I'm fine being alone. I will collect all the cats. I'll do whatever I want, but I am not dealing.
Just give me a whatever I want. I'll do whatever I want.
I'll go to Paris and be Emily in Paris with my chatons.
But doesn't she date in Paris?
Yeah, but I won't. I'll just.
What's a chaton?
Well, I'm a cat.
Oh, okay.
Kittens.
Okay.
No. Yeah. I always get cat kitten confused. Well, I mean, doesn't mean I'm not gonna hook up with guys.
Okay, that's fair.
But I'm not doing the games. I'm not. I can't. Won't do it. Don't have the energy. Don't give a crap. I'll just be a cool aunt.
No, I'm here for it. I love all the dating stuff. I love meeting new people. I love figuring things out. I love playing the game. It's so much fun.
So if we break up,
yeah,
you're going to go on dating apps again, and you're going to interact with women who, because the young girls are going to be like, this old guy is not responding to me and not giving me the time of day. Like, you're going to mess with Gen Z dating. No. Yeah. That means you're going to date an older woman.
No.
Exactly. So you're screwed. And I don't mean literally.
Well, why would it be the older or Gen Z? There's also millennials out there.
Yeah, they don't have time for you either.
That's fine. But I don't want to make time for people who don't have time for me, Carla Marie. So.
Like, I would love to watch you. This is weird. I would love to watch you try to date like a 25-year-old. Because I think that you don't realize how different your mindset is from them.
I think my mindset's different from everybody, though.
Your way of life. Like, they will not.
What is my way of life?
They will not.
I'm not a caveman.
Deal with your nonsense, Gen Z.
What is my nonsense? Go.
Like, you wouldn't respond to their texts. Gen Z would not have it.
Where are you getting this information from?
You're notoriously a bad texter.
Yes.
People know that.
But that's not responding. I'm just a bad texter. It's different. Do I not respond to your text messages?
And Gen Z needs you to talk about your feelings.
I can do that. I've gotten much better at that over the years. I had this old lady help me out. Her name was Carla Marie. So what else? What are the other things, Carla Marie, that you think would make me undateable?
Let's see. I'm trying to think. My nieces are millennials.
Wow, I'm not dating your nieces.
No, I'm trying to think what they've said about you.
Hopefully all good things.
I gotta get Krista. We gotta get Krista on here. She'll tell you. She will flat out be like, Anthony, this is what you do. That's weird.
Yeah, but why would I want to date Krista? What makes you think that someone like Krista is someone that I would want to date?
She's gonna speak for the generation.
Why does she get to do that?
Because she's Gen Z.
So she gets to talk for every Gen Z person in the world? The woman who hasn't left New Jersey gets to speak for every single person in her generation?
All right, where's Ashley? Ashley's not in this chat. Not my sister. Ashley, who would be in the chat? She's Gen Z.
Why does Ashley get to speak for every Gen Zer?
Because
why do you get to speak for anyone other than yourself? We all realize how ridiculous this is, right? Fred the Mailman, because he said something positive, I'm going to put him on the screen here. Where'd it go? He said, oh, goddamn. Oh, here we go. I think a mature 25-year-old would be fine with tones. That age group is quite fond of older men.
A mature 25-year-old. Okay.
Yeah.
Rami Miracles, which is not what your name is, but we say it all the time. Ramiracles said, I'm Gen Z and I'm married to a 25-year-old. But how old are you then?
Gen Z is 25.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
How old are you then?
What?
Well, I was completely, like, my nieces definitely, they think you're funny, but they're also like, Anthony's so weird.
Yeah, he is. He 100% is. You think they're normal?
Like, they'll be like, he's so cute. He's so awkward. They say things like
he is. He absolutely is.
And in like a cute way. I'm not like making fun of you. But when we were out on vacation with my family, Anthony took a nap and he came walking out of the bedroom and he walked outside. I'm outside on the front porch. He walks outside and all of a sudden my niece comes barreling out the front door and she's like, Anthony. And he's like, what? She's like, did you just take a nap in jeans?
I sure did.
Like, and she's like, I'm watching this whole thing happen. And he goes, yeah. And she goes, that's not okay. You're a psycho.
I said, okay. I think the one thing that throws your family off about me a lot is
you don't go back at them.
There's a lot of things I don't care about, and I'll literally tell them. What I've started doing, actually, and I'll do this with my brothers sometimes, or with my parents, is if someone is really worked up about a topic that I genuinely don't care about, I will literally to them say, I don't care enough to have an opinion about that. And I'll move on. And it throws
I'm getting better at that.
It throws people off because they want you to have their same level of rage. Whether is that for the same reason or the opposite reason, they just want you to meet their rage, and I don't really do that very often. So like your family will ask me questions about very silly things that they're very worked up about, and I'll just go, I don't know. I don't care.
Yeah, because you got to be on either side of the debate.
But I'm not. I'm just like I very much, and this is something I've worked on in the last couple of years, I guess. I've become I don't care about a lot of things type person.
Because you're an old man. Maybe. Gen Z wants you to care. They want you to have an opinion on everything.
Listen, I'll go protest. I'll wear a shirt for whatever color day we're, I don't know, representing things. Whatever. Okay. But again, I'm still not sure why your niece or anyone in your family gets to represent their entire.
That's all I had.
Well, maybe you need to open up your world a little bit.
All right, we're gonna line up. We're gonna have you fake date a bunch of Gen Z.
I'm sure they'll love
this is gonna go terribly.
I'm sure they'll love that one. Man coerces young women into fake dates for personal gain. This is gonna be awesome.
To talk about on a streaming show.
Oh man.
Okay.
Wait, so your family doesn't like me, huh?
No, they love you. It's Gabrielle and Alyssa. Oh, it's mainly Alyssa that's like, Anthony's so awkward. He's so cute.
I mean, he is.
That's
he
what
is
she'll
very
say.
awkward. He's very weird.
She'll say it to your face, though. It's not like she's secretly telling me this.
I say it to my face all the time. I literally look in the mirror and go, "You're a fucking weirdo," and it's fine. It is all good.
Fred the mailman said, "I'm just here for dates. I'm too old for relationships. I have no desire to get remarried."
I just realized, of course I'm weird. I'm wearing a Pokemon shirt where Charmander is lifting weights.
But she's always like, he's so cute. He's so awkward. It's so cute. He's so cute. He's so awkward.
That's fine. I'll take that.
And I'm like, it's just funny because
that's like the winner in every rom-com is the cute, awkward person.
But what I'm saying is there's no one in my life that I have met that knows you that has ever called you awkward. Think about it.
Enough people.
It's always like, oh, he's so like personable, whatever.
Yeah, you can still be awkward and do all of that.
And she's that. You are the least awkward person I've ever met.
Me?
Yeah. I don't like, but from their perspective, when I watch you interact, you are always like, you're just so weird.
I don't know what's going on here. All right, listen, it is time for us to get out of here. Thank you very much for hanging out with us. Thank you to Gabi, because I felt like every part of that conversation was incredibly fun. All the dating stuff, the podcast stuff, the 20-somethings, all of that was incredible. So thank you for hanging out with us. There is a new episode of the Morning Show podcast available wherever you get your podcasts. And we'll be back right here on Thursday. Carla Marie, any last words?
Yes. Because of everyone's request, Anthony is going to wear a cat in a wrap. I got a lot of requests. Please wrap Anthony at the cats. So we're going to do a video.
Is this for the TikToks, for the Gen Zers?
For the Gen Z. And then they're going to want to date you.
For Gabriella?
Oh my God, it's a whole thing. Gen Z is like purposely looking for men with cats.
Cool. See you later, Carla Marie.